It's your boy Samuel, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit different and a little bit concerning. Now, a lot of students have been actually be asking me. I've been trying some techniques that I've seen online. I've been trying something that I've seen online. Now, something that a friend of mine told me, something I've watched on YouTube, and yet it's still not helping me study effectively. Or it's not still not helping me study very well, like I want to. Now, today we're going to talk about some few errors that I've seen most of those students actually um, make, because I've talked to a lot of students whereby I've noticed a particular error that they actually make. So today we're going to talk about most of those errors and how to solve those errors. So stay tuned with me, guys. So the first thing I'm going to share with you guys is space study time. Now I've actually talked about this study time in my previous video, so you can actually go back and watch this video if you want to have more in depth on this topic. Now, what am I spacing study time? Like I said before, a lot of students, especially those who are just beginning, are trying to study for a very long time, maybe in 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it is very difficult. Trust me, it is not easy for you to just wait, especially when you want to start studying and okay. Especially when a lot of people, when they are actually joining a study group, you join a study group and maybe say this study group are actually studying for like 5 hours, 6 hours, and you're like, okay, I want to try studying like them, like 5 hours, 6 hours. Now, trust me, you won't study like them. Before end of the day, you won't even continue that because it is very difficult. A lot of students, I've seen a lot of students who actually started studying and end of the day they actually will stop. One of the reasons, like I said, is this studying habit. Now you want to study for a long time, yes, it's good, but you need to break down your study. If you are starting, you can start studying with an hour, depending, you can even start with 30 minutes. Now after that 30 minutes, you won't just study for 30 minutes straight, you study like 10 minutes, you take a 2 minute break or 5 minute break, you continue again, you take a 2 minute, 5 minute break, you continue again. Now you need to space those study time. Take a break, study, take a break, study. Then after you notice that okay, 30 minutes you can study for a longer period, you extend it to 1 hour. Then taking break in between those 1 hour. Then if you feel like okay you are good with 1 hour, then you can study increase it to 2 hours, depending on how fast you can study. You can study for you can change from an hour to 3 hours, from an hour to 4 hours. It doesn't actually depend. It doesn't actually matter. It depends only on you. But my advice is you start very little. You start with 30 minutes, 1 hour, an hour, 30 minutes. You can start from an hour, 2 hours, but always try to put space in between the study. Don't try to just start studying for 6 hours straight on a go. Trust me, even those who are actually advanced can't even study for 6 hours on a go. You would, in fact, you will get tired at the end of the day. Another tip I actually want to give you guys is trying out simple questions. Now, this is actually for those who are actually beginning, who are just starting to study. Now, a lot of students when they're actually trying to study, they try solving harder questions, very difficult questions. Now, I wouldn't actually say that is bad, but I think to my own understanding, to my own belief, I think it is more easy and more better to start off with easy questions. Because when you try solving those hard questions, it really kill your morale because end of the day, you might not end up solving any questions because it's more way above your knowledge. But when you try simpler questions, it will actually help you build a motivation because by the time you take 10 questions, you are able to solve nine, able to solve eight. You get more motivated and you get more zeal to study. So whenever you are trying to study, even those who are actually advanced study, don't always try to take really hard questions. Now, yes, I know that it's very helpful to try hard questions. I won't say that you shouldn't try hard questions, but once in a while, at least try solving out simple questions, except especially when you are feeling less motivated because when you actually solve questions, because when I started solving, I would take some few easy questions to start with. I will start with easy questions, yeah, but by the time I'm able to solve those easy questions, I'm getting motivated, and I start solving hard questions. But that doesn't mean you won't actually solve hard questions. But start with the easy questions first, and this will give you motivation and build your knowledge and open your mind to new concepts. So when you try advancing to those harder questions, it will be very easy for you, and it won't make you lose focus and motivation on the long run. Now, another tip I want to give you guys is set study goals. Now, this is actually one of the things that I think it's actually very useful for a lot of students who are actually studying, both the beginners and the advanced, even the intermediate. Now, I myself am actually a victim of not actually setting study goals, but I have noticed this drastic change when I started adding my study goals, and I think every student should actually try to implement this. Now, what do I mean by study goals? Now, you need to know, okay, what are the things, what are things that I want to study today? I want to study social stuff. Okay, let's say you want to study stoichiometry under chemistry. Okay, I want to study stoichiometry under chemistry. I want to be good in stoichiometry under chemistry. At least I want to study it for today and tomorrow. Now, when you set those goals, your mind will actually want to finish those topic in that set particular day. Now, if you don't set study goal, just okay, I want to study chemistry. Now, it will take you very long. It might take you about 1 week to study chemistry because everyone who is actually under chemistry will know that it is a very broad topic and it's very difficult to understand. But when you set goals that okay, I want to study it in just today and tomorrow. Now, trust me, you would actually use most of those your spare time to study. But when you just said, okay, I want to just study documentary, most of the spare time you won't actually feel motivated to study because you have a longer period of time to study that documentary. But when you set goals that okay, I want it to just be on this limited amount of time, you set your mindset that okay, I don't want you to pass this 2 days. I don't want you to pass this 3 days. Whatever day you want to set. Now, trust me, it will actually help you to study more and keep you contained instead of doing other things. By the time you know that okay, I have to finish this topic tomorrow. Instead of doing other things, you actually want to go back and study that particular topic or whatever you're doing. Now, another tip I want to give you guys that a lot of students actually do that to me, I think it's one very wrong habit is studying in a dirty environment. Now, you need to study in this environment. I don't know, a lot of students, I've met a lot of people who actually say they can't actually study in a dirty environment. Now, you need to make your environment neat and organized. You need to put your, okay, what am I going to study today? What am I going to study tomorrow? You need to organize every single thing that you're going to do. The room, the equipment you are using, let it be neat. The place you are using, let it be organized and well kept. Because by the time you're studying in a data environment, especially those who are actually a clean freak, I don't know actually. I think those who are actually a clean freak. Now, you will be less. You will notice that you are not actually. Your mind will actually be what you're studying because you want to arrange this. You want to keep this in order because and to me, I don't think it's actually one of the best habits to study. So try studying in a neat environment, and trust me, you will actually increase your study ability. Now, another thing is join a study group. Now, like I said, like I always say, it is very difficult. It is very hard to stay consistent in studying. To just wake up one morning and like okay I want to study and you stay on that studying for a very long period of time, it's going to be very difficult. So it is very easy and more um, advisable that you actually join a study group. At least a lot of people who are actually been studying before. Now these people will keep you motivated. I had a study group whereby 12 midnight we called each other. Okay, I call you, you call me. So even though you are asleep, we'll wake you up from that sleep and you start studying. Then the next morning when we get to school, we're okay, what did you read today? Can you just explain what you did? And that way you will actually retain more memory because by the time you're doing revision to people, by the time you're writing to people, you will actually know because when we're actually studying, we're like, okay, we'll ask yourself question, we'll ask you question. Okay, maybe you talk about social topic. Now I can ask you questions under it. Now if you're able to solve those questions, then we are sure that yes, you are grounded in that topic and you know that yes, you can answer this question whenever you see it. But when you notice that you are not able to answer, at least we are asking you 10 questions and you're just answering five, we know that okay, you will know the fault, the problem where you are. So this study group will actually point where you are and actually give you motivation to study because by the time you're seeing your mates studying and if you're doing with people who are actually always studying a lot, you will always want to study too. But if you're around people who are always actually playing, it will actually reduce your motivation because you just want to okay let me just play for 1 hour and at the end of the day you're playing for 2 hours 4 hours 5 hours 6 hours and that day is wasted already. So try to join a study group, be around people who are seriously minded with studying and trust me it will actually increase your study ability. Another tip I want to give you guys is try helping others solve questions. Now I'm going to use myself as an example. I remember when I first started a tutorial and I will actually look at the questions where most people are having problem with. Now, what I do is I go home, I try answering those questions, try reading the topic, I read all the topic and try answer some questions. Then the next day I come back and I was like, okay, since you guys are having problem with this question, why don't we try these questions? Now, one thing I noticed is that one, it actually helped me open my mind to new concepts because there were a lot of questions that I was seeing that I was wow, I knew that I wasn't actually fully confident in that topic. Now it actually opened my mind to new concepts, to new understanding, to new questions. So anyway I could see this question, I'll be sure that yeah, this is actually the correct answer. And second, which is one of the fun parts, is the appreciation you actually get from there. Now a lot of people appreciate you. Oh, thank you very much. I was actually having problem with this kind of question, but you made it look easy, and so on and so forth. Now you get this kind of appreciation, and it actually increases your motivation to study because by the time people start looking at you, wow, thanks. This question that you actually broke down now, I was actually been trying to solve it for like 2 3 days, and you just made it very easy. And subject that they actually give to you gives you the zeal and the motivation to study harder. Now, this is also one of the ways. So try helping others to solve questions, and also it will by doing so also, when they ask you some questions and you notice that, like I said before in the study group, when they ask you questions and you notice that you can't answer those questions, then you know that yes, you are not fully bothered in those topics. But when you're able to answer at least half or more, all of the questions, then you know that yeah, you are fully gone in the topic. Then you can actually proceed to another topic that you are not good in. So this will actually help you. Another thing I want to give you guys is get a teacher or get a tutorial. Now, it is very hard. It is very difficult to just stay on your own and you want to actually study on your own. Now it's very hard because there's some questions, no matter how brilliant, no matter how good you are, there's still some questions that will actually give you some problems. You will still need someone to help you. And when I when I first started my home self training, so self lesson, what should I call it? Is it self taught or whatever? Now, when I first started teaching myself at home, now I was having this difficulty in solving some few questions. I was always like, these questions I can't actually solve them when they are not good. I'm not good enough. I'm not brilliant enough. I'm not good enough. And this actually kills a lot of student motivation. Now, not that you're not good enough, but there are sometimes you actually need higher assistance. You always gonna need it. Whatever you're doing, be it work, be it study, be it whatever you're gonna do, you're always going to need an assistant to help you. Because if you don't have an assistant to help you, at the end of the day, you are not actually growing. It will actually kill motivation because if you have like 20 questions and you're able to solve 10 questions and you know you can't solve 10 questions, now those 10 questions might be very difficult for you. But if you don't have someone who will help you, you actually lose motivation that you can't actually solve it because this will actually help you in sometimes when I was actually solving questions, I would take these questions to most of my teacher. I would be like, okay, I don't actually understand this. And I'd be like, no, these questions are not for you age, they're not for your size. These are like when you enter the university, and I feel like, oh, at least I feel relief because now, yes, although I still try to solve those questions, I will see asking, okay, why don't we try it? Then I learn from it. But the thing is that it should actually give you this kind of relief that at least I'm not a dumbass. I know that these questions were questions that was way beyond my level. So even if I had studied 3 4 of these O level questions, it will actually take me more time to actually answer those questions, and it will actually relieve you a little bit and will not make you feel less motivated. But when you don't have anyone who is telling you that these questions are very difficult, not that I'm not saying that you shouldn't solve this question. You should try, yeah, you should try some questions because I think when I was in before I entered university, I started studying questions from university. I have a friend over there who actually sends me questions, and okay, why don't I just solve it and send it back to her. Now, so it is very nice, very helpful to try solving questions higher level. But sometimes when you can't solve those questions, you feel less motivated. But when you have someone who's telling you that these questions are not your question, funny enough, it actually helped me. That didn't make me feel like, okay, yes, at least I tried. I knew this question was not my set. But imagine if you notice that this question was, if you had this mindset that this was the question you're supposed to solve, and at the end of the day you can't solve it, trust me, it will actually kill your motivation. The thing I want to share with you guys is let your study equipment be at close range. Now, many students actually they look at this as this is one of very minor reason, but I think to me, I think it's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of students do not study. Now, let me use myself as an example, especially those of you which are actually lazy. Now, especially when I want to study and I'm like, okay, my pen is in the parlor, my book is here, my this is there, my calculator is there, and so on and so forth. Now, it makes me less motivated to study because only thinking about going to get those things has actually killed 90% of my motivation to study. But I noticed that when you have those things at close range, you don't actually have to start looking for where your pens are or where whatever is. Now you have them at close range. Now what I did was I used my room as my library. I just took a little portion of my room and used it as my library. I just stock up the books I want to read for today, tomorrow, or next tomorrow. And I just stock it up whenever day I want to read it. Now when I just because after I finish my chores and everything, I come back to my work, to my room. I know that okay, where I'm going to read is just very close by. I don't have to start going to back to the parlor, or I don't have to start going to the room, or whatever. Now, although it looks like a very short distance, but trust me, it kills about 90% of your study motivation. Trust me, because I've seen a lot of people that will be like, to go to the parlor to get that thing, to go to this place to get that thing, to go to that place to get that thing. It's very tiring. And at the end of the day, they won't get that thing and they won't get that job done. Or they won't actually study for that day. Now, but when those things are close by, you don't have any reason to start thinking of going far or anywhere. So by the time they are in one place, trust me, you actually increase your motivation, your study motivation by a very long way. Now, the last tip I want to give you guys is give yourself a treat. Now, what is a treat? A treat is just like a reward that you give yourself for getting something done. Now, um, one thing I've actually covered this in my other videos, so if you want to watch that, you can still go back and watch this video. But I want to give a more detailed explanation here. Now, when you're talking about giving yourself a treat, that means, especially those who are actually starting to study, it's very difficult. You have a lot of distraction, like you want to go on Facebook, you want to go on Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever social media that you have. You're always going to get distracted, maybe even by games and so on and so forth. Now, giving yourself a treat at the end of studying will actually increase your study motivation and the ability for you to study more. Because after studying, let's say for 2 hours, if you're a beginner, if you want to study for just 2 hours, now after studying for 2 hours, you give yourself, okay, throughout the day, I have this reward that I give myself. I have this treat I'm going to give myself. Now, this will actually help you because your brain releases a lot of dopamine because it knows that by the time you study for 2 hours, it gets reward and it actually wants that reward. So when you start studying, it releases this dopamine that you actually feel happy studying, even when normally you're supposed to feel bored studying. But because you know that by the time I study for 2 hours, I'm going to get this reward, and your brain starts releasing dopamine even at the beginning of the session of studying. But one thing I want to warn against is a lot of students actually give themselves this treat before studying. Now, it is not advisable to give yourself treat before studying because, okay, imagine if you want to go online. Okay, you said, since I'm actually studying for 3 hours, why don't I just go online for an hour and just study? Then after an hour, then I'll come back to reading. Then I'll put my phone aside. But trust me, it is very difficult. Trust me, especially those of you which has actually tried it. It's very hard. Even to myself, it's very hard, especially because especially when I take my phone to study, to maybe go on internet or so on and so forth, my 1 hour turns 2 hours, 2 hours turns 3 hours, 3 hours turns 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and I'll be like, I'm supposed to study. No, let me just check to so thing. 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. Then before you know, I won't study that day anymore. So when you want to reward yourself, always try to make sure that you reward yourself at the end of that day because by the time you reward yourself at the end of each study session, your brain releases a high amount of dopamine that it will make sure that you actually complete that session to the end of that session. So these are my tips to actually help you to improve your study habit and also to increase your motivation to study. So if you like my video, subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And